Welcome, volunteers. Thank you so much for deciding to volunteer with the Community Connection Center. Your help is very much appreciated, and we can't wait to work with you. Our story. Imagine you're working two part-time jobs to support your family, just barely making ends meet. Then, your car breaks down, or you have an unexpected medical emergency that leaves you drowning in debt. Now, you have a choice. Pay your bill or feed your family. In Vermilion, this is an everyday occurrence. With the poverty rate of over 35% and a food insecurity rate that is nearly double that of our neighboring counties at 17%, financial insecurity is commonplace. United Way of Vermilion and our partner organizations work hard every day to provide a hand up to those that are struggling to get by. The Vermilion Food Pantry provides around 50 to 70 pounds of fresh produce, meat, bread, dairy, and non-perishable foods to families at each monthly visit. The Welcome Table ensures families receive a warm, home-cooked meal every Monday night. The Weekend Backpack Program sends hundreds of kids home from school with enough food to make sure they can eat over the weekend. The Salvation Army gives emergency assistance to families that are facing a utility shutoff or struggling to get to a medical appointment. And the United Way partners with these and other programs all across the community to ensure that families have basic needs met, get help in times of crisis, and increase stability. While our independent organizations provide much needed services, our ever-increasing clientele shows us that we can do better. Over the past several years, we have been developing partnerships between our organizations like never before, starting with United Way of Vermilion's Clay County Poverty Task Force, which brought together stakeholders to discuss how we could better address this pressing issue in our community. We've transferred excess food and supplies to each other, joined together to put on a massive food giveaway that have fed thousands of people, and realized the inefficiencies of directing families across town from one service to another. As our alliance has deepened, we've realized the solution. Our vision at the CCC is that we envision it will be a place where those in need can receive assistance, moving from crisis to stability and ultimately self-sufficiency. The center will serve as a one-stop shop for multiple services, including, but not limited to, United Way of Vermilion, the Vermilion Food Pantry, the Weekend Backpack Program, the Welcome Table, and Salvation Army. So what do we stand for at the CCC? Well, we believe that every family should have access to the essentials of life and the support necessary to become self-sufficient. We believe our one-stop shop model of support is the best way to 1. Address the myriad of needs that accompany poverty in our community, and 2. Increase the effectiveness of and efficiency between our organizations. So how does this work? Well, it's pretty simple. It initially starts when a family arrives at the Community Connection Center, when they will be greeted with warmth and dignity. They will be guided to the service that they need, and now, instead of receiving only one form of community assistance, we will be able to direct them to any other resource that could help. That's right down the hall. Our organizations will be in a better place to collaborate on big picture ways to address the poverty in our community. We can not only focus on taking care of the line, but on shortening it. And we can eliminate duplicated services, saving the time of our volunteers and the funding of our donors. It's a win-win. We see a place where we will not only offer our basic services, but expand over time to include health screenings, dental cleanings, cooking classes, financial literacy training, and much more. As we involve more and more partners across the community, this will all become a reality. As a volunteer, there is a code of conduct at the CCC. The Community Connection Center is intended to be an inviting, comfortable, clean, and safe space for community involvement and assistance. CCC guests and volunteers are expected to conduct themselves in a responsible manner, respecting the rights of others to use the CCC. All guests and volunteers are expected to behave in a civil, respectful manner to staff, volunteers, and guests. These rules are intended to ensure that everyone may enjoy good service and pleasant surroundings. Enforcement of these rules will be conducted in a fair and reasonable manner. CCC staff and volunteers and police officers are authorized to enforce these rules. Failure to comply with the CCC's established rules and policies could result in removal from the premises and exclusion from the CCC for the remainder of a day, a period of 1 day to 1 year, or an arrest or prosecution. Violations could also result in the restriction and/or termination of CCC privileges. At the CCC, there is certain conduct that is not allowed on property. I will read off a list found below and also in the Policy and Procedure Manual. Engaging in any activity in violation of federal, state, local, or other applicable law or CCC policy. Failing to comply with a reasonable staff or volunteer request. Abusive behavior or obscene language directed at other guests, volunteers, or staff. Leaving children under the age of 8 years unattended. Carrying firearms unless a member of law enforcement. Being under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Verbally, physically, or sexually threatening or harassing other guests, volunteers, or staff, including stalking, loitering, offensive touching, and obscene acts such as sex acts and indecent exposure. Selling and/or soliciting for money or items and services on CCC property without permission. Stealing, damaging, altering, or inappropriate use of property, furniture, or equipment in the CCC or on CCC grounds. Conduct not allowed on CCC property continued. Trespassing in non-public areas, being in the CCC without permission of a partner before or after CCC operating hours, fighting or challenging to fight, running, pushing, shoving, or throwing things, creating disruptive noises such as loud talking, screaming, or banging on equipment or furniture, littering, smoking, chewing, and other tobacco use inside the CCC, leaving packages, backpacks, luggage, or any other personal items unattended. Leaving items unattended is done so at the owner's own risk. The CCC will not assume any responsibility for guests or volunteers' personal property for theft, damage, or loss. Unattended items are subject to immediate confiscation and possible disposal. Using wheeled devices in the CCC, including skateboards, skates, bikes, scooters, except for 2- and 4-wheeled carts, baby strollers, and ADA assistive devices, example being wheelchairs. And lastly, bringing pets or animals other than ADA certified service animals into the CCC. Staff and volunteers who need access to the building will be issued electronic access fobs or cards. Such persons are required to complete and sign a door access security fob/card user agreement. You can ask your volunteer supervisor if this is applicable to you if you have not already received one. United Way of Vermilion makes limited use of video surveillance systems in its Community Connection Center. Video surveillance systems are primarily used to record access at building entrances and the exterior of the building. Video surveillance systems are not used to observe employee, volunteer, guest, or client activity. The video surveillance systems will not be used to violate client confidentiality. Video surveillance cameras are never used in areas where there is an expectation of privacy, such as restrooms. The primary purpose of the video surveillance system is to ensure the safety of all persons who enter the facility. United Way of Vermilion is responsible for the management and maintenance of all video surveillance systems in use at its CCC facility. The video surveillance system is capable of being monitored by the Executive Director of United Way of Vermilion. The Executive Director generally views the video surveillance cameras on a periodic basis or in response to a specific incident. There is no expectation that the video surveillance systems are monitored on a continuous basis. All video surveillance cameras are capable of being recorded continuously by a digital video recording system. Recorded video is usually exclusively for the investigation of security and safety incidents and not for any other purposes. United Way of Vermilion has exclusive control of the release of video recordings produced by the systems. Recorded video will not be made directly available to CCC tenants or the general public. Requests from law enforcement for access to recorded video will be accommodated. First aid and emergencies. A first aid kit is available at the guest services desk. A commercial-grade first aid kit is also available in the kitchen. The guest services assistant or a United Way of Vermilion staff member, if available, should be notified of any serious illnesses or injuries requiring a call to 911 so that the emergency response team can be sent immediately to the location needing their service. Please remember, hallways are part of the emergency evacuation routes. Nothing shall be stored in the hallways so as to maintain safe passageways out of the building. Accidents and medical emergencies. In the event of an accident or medical emergency that requires first aid or treatment by emergency medical personnel, employees should notify a supervisor and call 911 for assistance, after which the guest services desk should be contacted. The supervisor, in turn, must report all accidents in writing to the CCC staff. Fire suppression. There are fire extinguishers located on each floor in clearly marked wall boxes. Directions for their use are attached to the extinguishers. The fire suppression system is supplied by and maintained by Justice Fire in Sioux Falls. Breastfeeding is welcomed and encouraged at the CCC. Lactating persons are permitted to breastfeed any place in the building they are permitted to be. If desired, space is provided in either of the two conference rooms for a clean, comfortable, and private place to breastfeed. This short presentation helped to provide a quick overview of the CCC. If you have any questions, please direct them to your supervisor. We appreciate you volunteering with us, and we are so grateful, and the people of Vermilion are also. Thank you again and look forward to working with you.